Hi, this is Kristen Heemstra, your college and career coach, and I want to talk to you about the timeline that you want to have in mind when you're working with your student. So you can get really uptight about this process or not. It's completely up to you. But there are some things you definitely want to keep in mind going through this. So it can start as early as 6th and 7th grade, depending on what district you're in. In the Chapel Hill Carborough City School District, the advanced students take Math 1, which is also known as Algebra 1. In other districts, I believe they can take it sooner. But what you want to do is think about your math and your foreign language. Those are two of the subjects that can translate into high school classes. So 6th, 7th grade, you want to determine if you want to take any high school level classes. These classes do appear on transcripts in the Chapel Hill Carborough City School District. They are not added into the GPA. Those grades start in 9th grade, but they do show on the transcript. So important to keep in mind. You also want to be starting to think about long-term academic planning. You don't have to make any decisions. You just kind of want to be thinking about it, because the longer the runway you have, the more ability you have to impact the outcome. So what does thinking about it mean? It means exposing your child or having your student get exposed to things they might enjoy. Whether it's a summer camp experience, whether it's an enrichment experience, whether it's a class at the school. Just kind of starting to think about that a little bit. Then in 8th grade, particularly at you're going to be registering for classes for 9th grade, starting about February to March in 8th grade. Give some thought at that point to a 4-year plan in high school. Think about the classes that you want your student to have exposure to. In our district, we have CDM, Credit by Demonstrated Mastery. Maybe that's something you want to consider. Maybe it's not. But this is the time to really begin planning that out. You have plenty of time later, but this is if you want to get a head start on things. You also want to begin to think about the enrichment activity for the summer, because it is after the 8th grade year, so beginning when it's considered the beginning of 9th grade. Why is that relevant? Because on your application, you can record things that you did between 9th and 12th grade. So then let's talk about what happens in 9th grade. So when your student gets to 9th grade, you want to give them a little bit of chance to breathe. The bridge between 8th and 9th grade, it depends on your school district. In the CHCCS district, it's not too bad. The kids are a lot more scared than they need to be sometimes going into it. But it's a time to really start thinking about things. And then once you get a little settled, get involved. Figure out what kind of clubs you want. Now, the thing to remember about the clubs at the high school level is that they're only as organized as the student leading them. So you can have some great clubs that just aren't doing anything. And if your student wants an experience in a club, make sure the club is actually viable. You'd be surprised how many clubs are started, I think, for college purposes and then kind of peter out. The other thing you want to be doing in 9th grade is journaling what you're doing, because believe it or not, as smart as you all are, between 9th and 11th grade, at the end of 11th grade or beginning of 12th grade, you forget. You forget all the activities you did. You forget all the volunteer stuff you did. You just don't have the bandwidth to remember all that stuff. So if you write it down and keep track of it, it makes it so easy. And you'll be using that potentially in the application. So you definitely want to do that. You need to do well in classes. So this is when the GPA at college C's will be made up of 3 years, 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. They will see senior year grades, but they'll already have made their decision at that point when those grades really start coming in. So super important to do well. Also super important to explore your interests. College is awesome, but it's also a stepping stone. It's a stepping stone into your life. And so take this opportunity to figure out what makes you happy, what turns you on, what gets you excited, and explore that interest. Follow it. Maybe it's down a rabbit hole. Maybe it's into a rainbow. I don't know. But give your interest a lot of weight at this time, so you can see if it's something you want to do for a lifetime or just for a class. And then also, this is the time to get to know your counselor. Now, in a traditional school setting, the counselors will introduce themselves to the ninth graders at the beginning of the year because they want the students to know who they are. But after that, they're going to be running right away with the seniors, trying to make sure all the senior information gets out to colleges. After that, so in the spring, so after the holiday break, that's a great time to set up a meeting with your counselor and just talk to your counselor, go in, say, I just want to meet you. I want to let you know who I am. This is what I'm thinking I might be interested in, so that they can really get to know you, because a lot of counselors have tons and tons of students. And the only time students tend to see them is when they have problems, because it's the only time they really need them. But if you go in and just start building a rapport with your counselor, it can only help. So definitely do that. Then you're going to roll between 9th and 10th grade year, do something fun with your summer, do something whatever. Again, think about creating your narrative, however you want it to go. 10th grade, that's where we see the testing start. So my advice is for sophomores to take the PSAT and the pre-ACT. Now, in the CHCCS district, they tend to be given on the same day, so you can't do both. But if they're not, take them both. You're going to have to arrange to take the PSAT on your own as a sophomore, because it's actually given to all juniors to get you qualified for the national merit. But it's still a great thing to take your sophomore year. Your only goal is to get familiar with testing. Do not pay attention to the score. Do not put any weight in the score. You can work to change the score. At this point, you're just getting used to what it's like to be in a high-pressure testing environment and have to concentrate for a really long time. So that's what I want you to do your sophomore year. Then if you have classes that are aligned with SAT-2 subject tests, we talk about that in the testing, consider taking those in the spring. So you'll take those either in April, May, or June. I recommend May because that's when the AP classes are. But Math 3 is actually the last math on the SAT-2 subject test. So you can knock that out if you want to. And then you can see if any of the other ones apply as well. A lot of schools don't require subject tests. So if you are thinking about schools that don't require the test, you don't need to take it. Don't worry about it. Keep your grades up. Super important to keep your grades up at this point in your sophomore year. Again, freshman, sophomore, junior year are counted into the GPA. Stay involved at school, whatever. If you're in a club, if you're in a sport, you're in a theater, whatever your area is, stay involved in it. It helps to show persistence, and again, you may use it for your narrative. Who knows? The other thing to do here, I have consider competitions, and you can download this when I'm done. But competitions, look online. So you'll see science competitions and coding competitions, and there are all kinds of competitions out there. Consider getting involved in them. Get your name out there. Get your name in the hat. You don't have to win them. If you come in third in 3 candidates, awesome. You have gotten yourself out there. Also, you can use these as you are reporting your different awards and things. So consider getting into some competitions, is aligned somewhat with your interest. And then your sophomore year, you want to start a little bit of college exploration. So maybe drive by a couple college campuses. Maybe take a look at some websites. Maybe go to a couple college information sessions. So you're really starting to think about it at this point, because it's coming up sooner than you realize. And then your junior year, this is a big year. So you're going to take the PSAT in the fall. This is, again, to qualify for national merit money. Now, I'll be honest, very few people are going to qualify. You have to test in the 99.9th percentile. But if you're a good test taker, then it may be worth your time. You also want to consider taking the full-on SAT. I recommend it in the spring, but you can really take it anytime. You should take it after Math 3. That's why I have it earlier. Maybe your sophomore year you took it, because that's the last math. But definitely think about taking that so you can get a sense of your scores, SAT, ACT. If you're in the state of North Carolina, they will pay for you to take the SAT in the fall and the ACT in the spring. And the ACT scores, that you'll be taking at the end of February are viable. So you can use those when you apply to college. You also want to take the SAT 2 test as appropriate. So a lot of those tests will hit in May because you'll be wrapping up your AP class, and then you can move right into the SAT 2 class. So it's pretty seamless. It's a lot of testing in May. It just is the way that it is, but if you can hang in there, it will be well worth your while. Again, keep grades up. That's going to be super important because, again, freshman, sophomore, junior year, those are where the grades are going to be evaluated for admission. Stay involved in school as you have been. And then it's really in your junior year, you want to start crafting that narrative and getting it getting yourself positioned. What's going to be your big selling point? So that's a timeline, 7th through 11th grade. And we will definitely talk about what to do after that because your senior year has so many different time points. So we're going to have a totally different video on that one.